sand is the lantern of guidance and the ship to salvation, and the ship to salvation. الحسين مصباح الهدى وسفينة النجاة.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، الصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم وعلى أهل بيت الطيبين الطاهرين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Salaam alaikum, everyone. Welcome to the Muharram Women podcast, where today we reflect on an angle deeply transformative: the spiritual status of the mothers of Karbala. When we remember the mothers of Karbala, like Lady Rubab, Sayyida Zainab, the mother of On and Muhammad, we see not just women of patience, but souls of extraordinary spiritual rank. These mothers were not simply forcing themselves to be patient or covering pain with ritual phrases. Their surrender and strength came from an inner state already realized long before Ashura. Imam Hussein carefully chose those who joined his caravan. It was not an open invitation. Each soul had reached a certain level of readiness. Some companions declined because they lacked this spiritual maturity. What was this readiness? It was a deep soul level understanding of the true purpose of life, closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to preserve Allah in our hearts, which is meaning of taqwa, by reflecting the divine attributes of Rahma, of Kareem, and all of Allah's attributes, Rafiq, Subur, rather than as titles to cling to. How can we manifest Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's attributes, preserving Him in our hearts? It's through the relationships that surround us. When we do life through our relationships, we get an opportunity to manifest Allah's names and attributes. Here comes the link between how these mothers were such sublime spiritual beings. Allama Tabatabai, in his spiritual wayfaring, the first chapter he mentions, especially in a chapter called Etiwarat, which is mental constructs, explains that our worldly titles and roles like mother, wife, my child, my property are constructs we adopt to do life. They help us organize society, but they have no independent reality in the soul's journey. Allah warns us in Surah Al-Ankabut, وَمَا هَذِهِ الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا إِلَّا لَهْوٌ إِلَّا لَهْوٌ وَلَعِبٌ إِنَّ الدَّارَ الْآخِرَةَ لَهِيَ الْحَيْوَانُ لَوْ كَانُوا يَعْلَمُونَ. This worldly life is nothing but play and amusement, but the home of the hereafter is true life, if only they knew. It's like a children's game. They assume roles, play them fully, and then when it's time to eat or leave, they leave them behind. To illustrate this, imagine a rose placed in the center of the room, surrounded by mirrors. When you enter, you see endless images of the rose everywhere, but these reflections have no essence. They only point to the real rose. Similarly, our roles and virtues are reflections of Allah's names and attributes. They're not truly ours. A practical example would be a mother might believe her patience, strength are her own. When her child struggles, she feels crushed, as if her identity has failed. But when she realizes her virtues are borrowed from Allah, that she is simply a mirror, she can love deeply yet surrender the outcome fully to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Himself. The true pinnacle of servitude is to recognize that absolute might of lordship and the nothingness of servitude, what Imam Khomeini mentions and explains in his book Adab as-Salah. So why am I mentioning all this? This was the true spiritual status of the mothers of Karbala that they already had. Their sublime natures were already, their sublime soul was already at this point. where this verse, something which continues in the Quran, which Allah mentions in Surah number 80, Surah Abasa, ayat number 34 to 36. يوم يفر المرء من أخيه وأمه وأبيه وصاحبته وبنيه. On that day, a man will flee from his friend, a brother, his mother, his father, and his spouse, and his children. The mothers of Karbala had already internalized this reality. They saw their children as amana. That's the key word. Sacred trust, not possessions. When they returned their sons to Allah, their children, they were not giving up their own. They were returning what already belonged to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the true way of living, the beautiful verse of the Quran, Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Indeed, we belong to Allah, and indeed to Him we return. For most of us, this verse is something we recite when calamity strikes. But for them, it was an inner state of being. Their loss in this world became an eternal legacy because they were not attached to these imagined ownership. This is why Allah keeps their names alive. They have become an ayah, a sign, a living sign for us, for those who reflect. And as we remember them today, let us ask ourselves, how do I see my roles? Do I hold on them as ends, as the goal in life, being a mother, or do I see them as means to Allah's for perfecting your journey towards Qurb Ilahi, to manifest His names and attributes in these relationships, but not making these relationships our goals? Then that becomes an end to itself if we make them our goals. But they are never a goal, they're always a means. And can I live each relationship as an amana, guiding me towards Him? May Allah grant us the insight to move from attachment to surrender, from imagined self sufficiency that I do this and I take care, to true servitude, and from loss to eternal legacy is who we become then. Thank you for joining me today. May this Muharram be a time to realign our hearts, reorient our roles, and walk the inner path of the mothers of Karbala, not just in words, but in true lived realizations where our souls, where we're able to raise our soul's spiritual status. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.